We've already got 17, 18, 19, 20 viewers. This is crazy.
Heck yeah, man.
It's why, well, whatever. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs, a bodyslam.net podcast for all 25 of you that are here. It still just blows my mind that you guys are spending any amount of time listening to us, watching us. We are so glad that you're here. I am your host, Nick Perkins, at Western Rebel on Twitter/X. I am joined by JPJ Loves Gaming, and we are here to talk all things Raw, but we are sans one of our Raw dogs. He's just not feeling great this week, but he will hopefully be back next week, so you guys are stuck with the two of us. So if you usually come here for Cory, he's not here. You guys can go do something else, go read a book or something, or just take a bath. Nobody takes baths anymore.
I like a good bath.
Yeah, I love a good bath.
Yeah.
But you've got me, you've got JPJ, and we are here to talk all things Raw. And honestly, Jay, this was a pretty good show. It was a pretty steady go-home show. What do you think?
Yeah, I very much enjoyed tonight's episode. I thought it was a great go-home show. The Chamber, not a ton of matches going on, but it seems like it's gearing up to be a big event heading really into Mania season. I thought tonight was good. I thought we had good matches. We had some storyline progression. I thought especially that main event, man. That main event was real special. That was a special, especially the last sequence of that main event was some good stuff. So
I feel like every time WWE trusts the women to main event, they
it's incredible what can happen, isn't it? It's incredible what can happen. I was getting nervous because they've been doing the 10:30 kind of out, and it was like 10:25 when the entrances were still happening, and I was like, oh, do not do that. But they gave them time, and those four ladies killed it. That match was very, very good. One of the better main events in a while.
That's a really good point you just made, because there isn't like that hard out. Like usually if a show is about to end, you can kind of tell like what may or may not happen. But since we don't really know when the show could end, like the match could be a half hour, it could be 5 minutes, and I think that adds to the excitement.
It does, because even you're sitting there and it's like 10:35, 10:36, and you're like, oh, is it going to end at 10:45? But even in your brain, you're like, this can literally end at any point. And it made the false finishes feel even bigger. It was like, oh, this is going to be it. This has to be it. And then it was like, no, and then just kept it. It was very good. It was
we've been conditioned to that 11 o'clock out on the USA Network for years and years. It's nice to just to not know. It's like watching a wrestling match without a time limit. But let's get into the show. A lot happened on SmackDown this past week too. We'll go over that, of course, but I wanted to start out with Mr. Logan Paul entering and cutting kind of a pretty typical heel promo, but he does it in such a way. He's such a smarmy douche. Like he didn't say anything groundbreaking, but I think just his existence was enough to kind of get some heat.
Yeah, and he leans into it. He leans into it. That's part that listen. Every time we talk about Logan Paul, I know I've only been joining you guys for a little bit now, but every time we talk about Logan Paul, it's usually with the caveat that like we don't think very highly of him as a human. But when we're talking objectively about what we're watching in WWE programming, he's very good. He's very good. He gets it. He knows he's a dick. He knows that everybody doesn't like him, and he leans into it, and he's just like tonight's promo, like you said, it was nothing groundbreaking. It was nothing that we haven't heard him say before, but the facial expressions, the mannerisms, when he's kind of like, when Punk arrives out and he's kind of being schmarmy and he's kind of being like, man, you tore your little tricep. And he's like doing some guy had a sign that said, I want to punch Logan Paul in the face. And that's really what we all want to do, right?
I think
it's perfect. I think it's perfect.
Well, you called it. CM Punk came out and kind of had a little tete-a-tete with Mr. Logan Paul, and I thought that was really good too, because Punk is one of those wrestlers where what he's saying, like maybe he actually believes it or maybe he doesn't, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. So especially in the case of him and Logan Paul, he said things that you and I have said that other people have said about Logan Paul, that he's not a good person, that he doesn't deserve what he's got, that he's just kind of a shitty human being.
Mhm.
And that could just be a wrestling promo, and CM Punk is just playing the character of CM Punk who doesn't like Logan Paul. Or it could be Phil Brooks saying, dude, I don't like you. And I think that's kind of the magic of a CM Punk promo. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is perfectly, because when he did, and first of all, shout out to CM Punk wearing a Chicago Teachers Union t-shirt, like, yes, respect our teachers.
Yes.
But when it comes to Punk, you nailed it. You're 100% right, because when he leaned in and he said, he called him a flash in the pan. He said, you've done ignorant and stupid things. And when he's talking like that, like you said, yeah, he's cutting a wrestling promo, but we all kind of know that he kind of means that. Like he means that. Like he's being truthful when he's saying things like that. And then he can just kind of turn it into turn it up to 11 and turn it into that promo. And then at the end, he's going, you're mocking me. It's calling us doorknobs or whatever. Like, we're legends in that ring that you're with. Like, we're history makers there. Like, you got famous by being an idiot on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, and and then at the end, he goes, just remember, when we walk in there on Saturday night, like, you're the nobody.
Sure.
You're the nobody.
Yeah.
He's right. He's right. Because look at that chamber match, man. Like, Logan Paul is in there with 5 heavy, big time players, man.
Yeah.
And like, that's a big moment for Logan Paul. Like, that's a lot of trust that the people in charge have in him to be in that match, regardless of what you feel about him personally. And it's usually, we don't feel good about him personally, but that's a big spot for him. A big spot.
Is. And I think this segment did a good job. I wasn't super psyched to have Logan Paul in the match, just because, like, yes, he's a good wrestler and he can definitely put on great matches, but I don't feel compelled to watch him a whole lot. So I wasn't really psyched about him being in the match. But this segment, like, got me a little bit more interested in his involvement, because now, I mean, at the end of the segment, they kind of went face to face, and then Logan Paul, of course, slapped CM Punk.
He cut him. He made him bleed a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah. Had a bit of a crimson lip. And man, now I want to see him get his comeuppance. I want to see Punk kick him in the face.
Yeah, and I was going to say, yeah, you said you weren't compelled. Are you compelled to tune in on Saturday to watch Logan Paul get his ass kicked, though?
I am, and part of me hopes that Punk is a little stiff with the Paul brother.
Yeah, but I thought this first segment, I was expecting Seth to come out during this segment, but he didn't. But I thought, even with just the two of them, I thought, and again, I feel like WrestleMania, there will be a different end game for CM Punk there.
Yeah.
However, I do feel like if they were to go the route of CM Punk and Logan Paul, like, I feel like those two would get me invested in that. Like, I feel like I would be in on that. I would.
I absolutely do not want to see that match at WrestleMania, but I would watch it on a Raw.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or a
that's fair.
Backlash.
Yeah.
It was really good, and Punk, as always, just does so much with so little. And it's so good. We've talked about it before. My favorite thing about pro wrestling right now is that CM Punk gets to have, like, the career that he wanted to have when he first came back to AEW. He gets that happy ending. He gets to help. He gets to give back. It feels better, other than maybe like that first year in AEW when things were pretty good. Like, it never really felt comfortable with Punk in AEW. But now everything that we've heard, everything that Punk has said, everything that other people have said, like, it sounds like finally this is a really good fit for the company and for CM Punk.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, obviously he needs to stay healthy, which hopefully he will, but I feel like we're going to see a lot of really good stuff from Punk this calendar year. Like, I feel like we're going to see some matches that we've either wanted to see again, or some, like, brand new kind of fresh matchups. And I think specifically what they're doing with Punk is really good, because he's got the stuff with Seth that's still kind of there. Now he's dealing with Logan Paul. He had that really great promo with Cody not too long ago. He still has the favor with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. So he's, like, sprinkled in a bunch of stuff, so he can go in a lot of different directions. And they're doing that with multiple people throughout WWE. And I think that is one of the reasons why I feel like the booking it feels so much different, is because it's not just, oh, they're one-on-one, they're fighting. It's like people are sprinkled into multiple things.
Sure.
And there's layers to things. And I think that just helps the product even more.
And you're right. That is a testament to the booking, because it's not just like the Cody verse over here, and then there's the New Day over here, and then CM Punk. Everybody's kind of intersecting like an actual television show with multiple characters, which I think is why it's so compelling. And luckily, like, WWE has the roster right now that, like, they can do that. There are so many stars in WWE, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT is getting even more firepower. We'll maybe talk about that, but it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, especially if you are a fan of the pro wrestling aspect of the show. And that's what we got in the first match of the night, when it was Penta versus Ludwig Kaiser versus Pete Dunne. And they only got about 9 minutes of mat time, but in those 9 minutes, they packed a lot in. And Ludwig Kaiser got the surprise win.
Yeah, I mean, Penta getting technically his first, obviously he didn't win the Royal Rumble, but technically his first loss here. And obviously he didn't get the pinfall. This match, like you said, 9 minutes, but this match was 9 minutes of fire, really.
Yeah.
Like they were going back and forth, all three of them. I thought the action and the pacing was it was a sprint. It was a 9-minute sprint with these three guys. And these three guys are, man, I can't remember somebody that they have like knocked it out of the park with upon arrival.
Yeah.
Like they've done with like in a while. And like Penta they have done it to perfection with Penta. You see him come out and you're like, this guy's just so cool. He's just so cool. And then you see the videos, like, I don't know if you know, he did one of the workouts with Sheamus, then some of those clips made the round. He just seems like he's so happy and he's having a good time and he's just thriving, and he's a bona fide star immediately. And week after week, it just gets better and better. Like, it's incredible what they've done with Penta. And, you know, I've always loved Pete Dunne. You know, I kind of knew he was probably going to be the guy taking the fall in this match, unfortunately. But I was a little pleasantly surprised to see Kaiser get the win. I think Ludwig Kaiser I think he's got everything it takes to be a main eventer as well, whenever they want to do that with him. Like, he's the full package, the total package to me as well. He can talk. He looks the part. He can go. This was a really good triple threat. And I really like these three guys being involved with each other. I actually think that I think two of the guys at minimum are probably in a multi-man match for the IC title at Mania.
Sure. Yeah. And I would watch that all day. I feel like if you gave this triple threat maybe like 10 more minutes and put it on NXT TakeOver, it would have been like one of the match of the years. So it was great. Penta is super cool. And like you said, to your point, this is one of the very few times where the stars just align perfectly, where the company gets behind a guy or a girl, in this case a guy, and the wrestler brings it themselves. And it's just everybody's firing on all cylinders. You saw it like not do as well when they brought in like Mystico and
Sin Cara.
Yeah, kind of have the same like background, but it just did not pan out. But this really did, and it's a testament to Penta for sure, and to the company for getting behind it. It was a great match. Ludwig Kaiser, I think the best is yet to come. I think
he's really good, really good.
Give me a feud with him and Dragunov when he gets back. I would watch for that all day, every day. So following that match, which Ludwig Kaiser did win, like we said, Rhea Ripley was interviewed, and she kind of hyped up her match with Io Sky. Which, are you disappointed that that's not the route we're going for WrestleMania? Or
I mean, I would say I'm a little disappointed. I'm glad we're getting the match at all. I think that probably is the main event of Raw next week, and it will be incredible. I kind of thought that would be the direction they were going. I felt like they were teasing it. I felt like that would be the direction at Mania, would be that match. And that's a match I would want to see at Mania. Right now, I mean, I don't know if we'll talk about the chamber at all, like, as we go along, but like that women's chamber, I don't really know I have more ideas about who I think is going to win the men's chamber than I do the women's chamber, because I thought EO would be in there and I thought EO would win it and that would be the match, but clearly they're not doing that. So I'm kind of like, who does it end up being for Rhea at Mania? Like who, like, is it Bayley? Do we go Bayley? Is she the one, or do we run the Bianca? Obviously, spoiler alert, do they run a Bianca and get that? I don't know. I'm very perplexed on the women's side of things.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so exciting to watch, right? Like the men, there are a lot of different options where they could go, and like I would say everybody in that match kind of has like, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think Elimination Chamber, which is, man, it's coming up already. It's this Saturday, and then we're full steam ahead to WrestleMania. It's already here. I'm psyched about it. I think Elimination Chamber, it's never been like, to me, on par with like Royal Rumble or SummerSlam or WrestleMania, but it really feels like this show really does kind of set the table for WrestleMania, and we'll be eating good if they just kind of follow the stars and do what they could do.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, it's the last big stop, right? Where they all the plans are basically going to be finalized as of the chamber of what we know the big main events and big matches are for Mania. And then, like you said, we got like 6 weeks and it's a full on sprint, man. And that's what we're doing. And it should be good. It feels like we're in line for another real, like biggest WrestleMania of all time type feel, especially with Cena coming back. And there's just, it feels like we're heading there,
We'll get into the things that could happen with the WWE Championship. I'm excited to talk about that with you. But before that, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods had another match with Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, and it was kind of a showcase match for the New Day, but the other guys kind of got in some good offense, and they looked pretty good. Kingston and Woods kind of beat up Del Toro, and then Dragon Lee made the save, or attempted to make the save, but then he got distracted and then got beat up too. So that's kind of, how do you feel about that when the babyface makes the save, but then kind of gets his butt kicked too?
I think it can work. I thought tonight was fine with the New Day. I think the New Day kind of needed a night like this.
Yeah.
Where they kind of won a convincing match, and then even when you think, oh, good guys coming to save the day, the New Day is like, no, we're still better than, we're the New Day. We've been doing this for a long time. We're the greatest tag team of all time. Like, it's going to take more than that. And then, so it kind of leaves it open of like, because I was expecting Rey Mysterio to come out again, because I feel like that's still kind of unanswered with Rey in them. And I don't know what that leads to, who teams up with Rey, if they do their Dragon Lee route again or something like that. But it feels like that New Day versus Rey Mysterio and partner is a match that needs to happen again. Like, it needs to happen. So tonight I didn't mind it, because the New Day shouldn't be getting beat up or losing to any of those three guys, in my opinion. Rey Mysterio is a different topic, but those three guys, even Dragon Lee, who I think has a future, like a good future, whenever they want to really buy into him and like do it. Like, I think he's also another luchador that could become like a star in the company. But right now, the three of them have no business getting the one up on the New Day at all.
Yeah.
So I thought it kind of worked.
Do you think the road to WrestleMania is New Day versus Rey and Dragon Lee?
I would think so. Originally, I thought that this is where Penta was going to kind of slot in. Like, it's going to be him and Rey. Like, what I thought was going to happen is the Mania match would be Rey and Penta versus the New Day.
Sure.
And then Penta would turn on Rey.
Yeah.
And kind of be a heel, because he can do that, obviously. But he's been such a star, and
people love him.
Are so behind him now that I actually think he's going to be doing it. They're like, no. I think he's going to win the IC title at WrestleMania, to be honest with you. But again, that's, we can talk about that in the weeks leading up to that. But I don't know. I would think they'd go back to Dragon Lee, unless they had somebody else that maybe like a legend or somebody else maybe that they had lined up or planned. But I would think they probably, as of now, I would think Dragon Lee would be my pick, because he's been kind of the lead guy the last couple weeks because Ray hasn't been there.
Sure.
He did the promo last week. He came out to try to make the save tonight. It seems like they're kind of propping him up a little bit to be that guy still. So, yeah, that's probably where I would lean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of WrestleMania, we're kind of setting the table for Finn Balor's possible WrestleMania. He and Dominic were bickering backstage with each other once again. Carlito tried to play peacemaker, and they talked about, can we bring in a New Day member? Balor said, no, we're not going to do that, which obviously wrestling talk means they're going to add a new member eventually. Who do you think it could be?
A part of me, there's something about AJ Styles.
I was going to say the same thing.
Something about AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has a past with Finn, the Bullet Club connection and stuff like that. But it feels to me that even though AJ Styles came back with the old music and as a good guy and things like that, just something about him. I can't tell you like a concrete reason why I feel. Maybe you have one because you're thinking the same as me. But AJ Styles is sticking out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see AJ Styles versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania. And I don't know if that'll happen because later in the show, Logan Paul and AJ Styles had a little segment, and that's definitely a match that could happen at WrestleMania. And I think a battle between the former Bullet Club members at WrestleMania on that big stage, they've only had one match against each other, and that was kind of right after AJ Styles had debuted. I think it was
It wasn't even originally supposed to happen. It was supposed to be Finn and Bray, right? And Bray got sick or something. Bray got hurt or something, and they just had that match randomly on like 3 days' notice. Oh, of course. But it was like 3 days. It was very like day before or a couple of days' notice.
Yeah, so I think they can touch on the history. They could touch on the Bullet Club. And then, like you said, AJ Styles does well when he's like the leader of a group, whether it's Gallows and Anderson, whether it's the Bullet Club. He does kind of have that leadership charisma. And, I could see him get a little bit darker and lead Dominic and Carlito and Liv. And maybe they add somebody else. I think if they're going to add anybody, it'll be AJ, but we'll see. And that's kind of part of the fun of watching is guessing and trying to see who it could be.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, but he's sticking out to me, AJ.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gunther. Let's talk about him and his match with Tozawa, because I thought, and it was to an extent, I thought this was going to be just like the easiest squash match ever. Like one kick, one power bomb. Get out. It was a little bit more than that. And Tozawa not only got a little bit of offense, but he also kind of got some shades of foreshadowing with Gunther saying, "Man, what are you doing? Like, remember who you are." It's kind of a pep talk by the bad guy, even if he did say it kind of condescendingly. But what'd you make of the little promo and then the match between Gunther and Akira Tozawa?
I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought that see, this is another thing about, and again, look at this regime, their booking is not perfect. They do things that I question as well. Friday night, I questioned a lot of things about what I was watching on that episode of SmackDown. Sure. But the fact that they're using Akira Tozawa and the whole Alpha Academy, because I think Maxine has been very good. I've always loved Otis. I root for the big guys. Like sure. But the fact that like they're still on television and they're used in a way when they get pops, like tonight, that crowd was 1000% behind Tozawa in that match. And when they did those little flashes of him getting some offense and he almost had a couple near falls, like that crowd was like pining for it. Yeah. Like, oh, give me a crazy upset or something like that. And I thought that's like a perfect use for a guy like Tozawa. A perfect use, because it makes Gunther be that piece of shit heel that he is, and he's picking on a little guy, but then Gunther just being as good as he is, like a living legend, literally. I know that's a moniker, but it's he literally is. Yeah. And it's like him being that good and having that kind of match and showcasing Tozawa and like knowing what to do, that he knows, you know, the Boston Crab with the slow reach for the ropes, and the crowd is like, get to the, you know, like they're all, it's just, it was
like Austin and Brett.
Yes, and it was very quick, and it was basically a squash. I mean, he got a decent amount of offense, but it was like a glorified squash match. But like, they had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand, man. And like,
you know what? Like, how much did that make you want to see Gunther versus Otis?
oh baby, I love Otis. I love Otis.
Everybody
And when
loves Otis.
yeah, and when Gunther started attacking Tozawa, and you saw Otis get in there, and that crowd was ready, and Otis ripped the shirt, and then Gunther kind of heel just left.
Yeah.
That's a match I do want to see that. Let me see that. You know, Gunther's not fighting at the Chamber. He doesn't need to. We know his Mania match. There's plenty of time between now and Mania. Give me Gunther versus Otis on a Monday Night Raw. Let those guys for 10 minutes beat the crap out of each other.
And who would have thought that like a month ago or a year ago that like a match we're salivating to see is Gunther versus Otis?
Yep.
That is, again, a testament to, and it's not hard stuff to do. Like, these are simple things that Triple H and company are doing, but they're making us believe in these characters, and they're making us want to see these things with simple things. And I don't want to sound like I'm a Triple H sycophant, but the booking, I think on Raw at least, is phenomenal.
Yeah, Raw is to me a show that 98% of the stuff that happens, it all matters. Like, it all means something. And I like, even like I was talking to a few friends while we were doing a watch along for Raw before I hopped on here, and like we were talking like, who would have thought Akira Tozawa, like where he is, and one of my friends was like, yeah, this match wouldn't even be happening if it was, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been a typical Gunther won in 30 seconds, or the match wouldn't have even happened under a previous regime. And I think the fact that you're, not only is the match happening, but it's happening in a way that it's captivating the audience, that it speaks a lot. It speaks a lot to the current way that they're, at least on Raw, how they're booking things.
Yeah, and we'll get to SmackDown. I'm very curious about your opinions, but before that, we saw Lyra Valkyria taking on Dakota Kai for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Another match that was just good, just solid. The women once again doing great. Dakota Kai, you kind of, where do you feel she's at right now? Like, is she gonna move on to bigger and better things? Is she kind of just that sturdy hand right now? What do you think about Dakota Kai?
I personally very much like Dakota Kai. I was rooting for her. Nothing against Lyra. I think Lyra's great too. I wanted Dakota Kai to win the tournament and become the first ever IC champ. Yeah. I don't really, not that I'm upset that Dakota Kai got a rematch, but like, it was pretty clear to me that Ivy Nile was the direction they were going for like the next big opponent for Lyra. Like, they've been leaning to that for a while. So why have, like, couldn't this have been another woman on the roster that you're not using instead of Dakota Kai in this match tonight to get to where we got to? Like, did Dakota have to lose another big match? You know what I mean? Like, I knew she wasn't going to win. I don't know. But again, the match was very good. I like Dakota Kai. If I were a betting man, I would say that Io Sky and Dakota Kai are fighting for the tag titles, the women's tag titles at Mania, in some multi-team match of sorts, I would think. I could see that happening because they technically beat Liv and Raquel a few weeks ago or a month ago. So technically they could say, hey, we beat you last time we faced you. You're the champs now. So, okay, guess what? And it kind of leads to, that could be something.
Yeah.
But overall, I very much like Dakota Kai. But yeah, I do feel like she's just kind of, she's good. The crowd gets behind her. They value her. I want to see her win things. I need to see her win things.
Yeah, and what a great problem to have, that you want to see the good guy win the matches.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
let's talk about this sit-down interview that Jackie Redmond did with Sami Zayn, and I could watch literally Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fight and talk forever. Yeah. This is a feud that will never get old to me. It's been happening for 20 years, and you feel like there's still so much left undone and unspoken between these two. Sami Zayn said that he went to Kevin Owens' house and Owens wasn't there, but his mom was. And Sami Zayn said, I talked to his mom. And like that just kind of illustrates how personal this is. It's like me going to my best friend's house and talking to his mom. Luckily, this weekend, I don't have to like murder my best friend in a wrestling ring like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are going to do. But it shows just this brotherhood. And I don't know what's going to happen between these two. I do think eventually we get to Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I hope that Sami Zayn doesn't have to be a pawn in that feud. But I don't know. But what do you think specifically of this interview segment?
Oh, I loved it. And I loved what one of the few things I loved on SmackDown was the Kevin Owens segment as well. Like you said it perfect. These guys, they just they're two guys that are great at everything they do. And I love both of them. To me, Kevin Owens has been the best guy in that company for a long time. A long time. They've given him a lot of crap too, like a lot of crap stories that he's made entertaining, that he's, you wouldn't think that it was going to work, but because he's just so good, it works. But he's another guy for me. He's my favorite dude. He's my favorite dude in WWE, but he's another guy that he loses every big match he's in. And like, I get that. There are people like that are just so good. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. And he's kind of there, but I still want to see him win. And I want him to be champion again. And I feel like he's constantly proving that he deserves to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I do agree with you. I think it's going to be him and Randy at Mania, which is a good spot for Kevin Owens to have against Randy Orton, 100%. Yeah. But I'm of the belief, like Kevin Owens, he should beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Yeah. And I don't know if he will, but he should. He should. But this was perfect. On Friday, right? Like that Kevin Owens was like just hanging out with Sammy. Like they had probably had dinner, and then he was like, all right, I got to go film this. So, so they kind of, but look, it's going to be incredible. They're going to really destroy each other. Yeah, it's going to really destroy each other. It's going to be crazy. I think
it's going to put their ladder war to shame. They've had an unsanctioned fight before in Ring of Honor, and that was great. Yeah. Actually, this week before the show, I'm going to go back and I've got Honor Club, so I'm going to go back and watch all of their matches, all their WWE matches. I know that originally people were a little bit disappointed that they aren't fighting at WrestleMania, but they did already do that. Like they had that moment, and they had that for them. I think fighting in Toronto and Canada is just another thing that for them, they're doing it for themselves. They can both have their families there. I think it more than anything, I think I'm looking forward to that match.
Oh, without question. This is the match I am.
Chamber will be great. The Cody segment will be good. The women's chamber match will be great. But this is the match that, like, man, oh man.
Yeah, this is what I'm looking forward to the most. And I feel like you and I are probably not alone in those sentiments. I think a lot of people are probably looking forward to this the most. It is unsanctioned, which means we are, I hope WWE, and we've kind of seen it since Triple H has taken over. Like, they get a little violent. That Hell in a Cell match with Punk and Drew was as violent as they've gotten in a while. Like, I feel like Hunter appreciates that type of wrestling and the violence of it. I mean, the ladder match with Cody and KO was brutal. That was a brutal ladder match. So I feel like it's going to be gnarly. I think there's going to be some gnarly spots. It should be excellent. But again, I feel like Kevin Owens should win.
Yeah.
I feel like Kevin Owens should win. And then maybe Sammy goes away for a little bit. So we mentioned KO and Randy for Mania. I don't want Sammy to become a pawn in it either. And I feel like the only thing that we could maybe do is him and Karrion Kross. I feel like they've been teasing that. But is that right now? I mean, because it's Sammy, I believe so. And low key, I think Karrion Kross this last 6 months has been one of my favorite character developments on the show. It's very small, and it's not he wasn't on. He was lurking in the background tonight a little bit, but sometimes he's not even on the show, like in a segment or something like that. But everything he does has purpose, and there are repercussions to everybody he's involved with. The New Day, Miz. He's kind of twirling in with Sammy and stuff like that. I feel like that would be a good spot if they could build to it properly, which I feel like they can. Like that'd be a good Mania match for both of them. That'd be a good spot for Cross because I feel like Cross is a guy that could be at the top of the card.
Really?
If eventually, not right now, but I feel like it's a slow build with his character. But even on his social media, he's been doing some really good stuff the last 6 months or so, like really good.
He won me over when it was some segment that he posted to his social where he was just like, "Oh, the Miz, yeah, he's probably dead."
Yeah.
Did you
see the one he posted last week of him impersonating Sami Zayn?
I did not.
As Sam. Go take a peek at it. He did one last week, and it turns into a serious Karrion Kross promo. But he starts it off, and he has like a fake beard, and he like is impersonating Sami Zayn, and it's very good. It's very
cool.
Good.
Yeah, I'll seek that out.
Yeah.
But speaking of underrated characters that are probably this year are going to just really come into their own, Braun Breaker took on Dominic Mysterio in a non-title match, and this I feel like is a match that we love to boo Dominic Mysterio, right? That's how good he is. But we also love to see him absolutely get his ass kicked, which I thought that's what this match was going to be. Kind of like the one before with Gunther and Tozawa. I thought this was just going to be a chance for Breaker to just absolutely destroy him. And again, he kind of did, but Dominic had the numbers game. His people kind of dragged him out of the ring right before Breaker was about to beat him within like 3 minutes. Breaker got the DQ win, and then we kind of ended with a bit of a face-off between Braun Breaker and Finn Balor, which that I would watch that tomorrow if they made that match. But what do you think about the match, and what do you think is going to happen moving forward with all of the players?
Yeah, this was a quick little thing they did, but I thought it was a fun match. This was a scenario, and Braun Breaker, they've been kind of doing the tweener thing with him, but this was a scenario because of the opponent where he was full on babyface, and that crowd was loving it. We
were talking offline, and you said that Braun Breaker is just somebody that the crowd just wants to cheer.
100%. And like, I'm cool with the tweener stuff because I think that can work too. But he's a guy that I see, and even when he's playing the full on bad guy, the crowd's barking. The crowd's doing his spears, the crowd gets amped up for. Like, it's one of those things where like the crowd wants to lose their shit for this guy. And at some point you just got to let him be a babyface and let the crowd, because he's one of those guys that I look at and he's like, that's your next, I don't want to compare people, but that's the next guy, man. That's the next. I look at him, I look at a Carmelo. Hey, I look at a few of these guys and I'm like, Braun Breaker is the next John. Like, that's who you want as the next Roman Reigns, the next John Cena. Like, he's got the pedigree, he's got the look. Like, that's the guy. He's like 24 or 25. He's still ridiculously young. That's the guy. And I think the crowd knows that's the guy. And they're like, all right, we want to cheer the guy now. Let us cheer the guy. And tonight was an opportunity for them to do so. And he was that crowd was ready for him to whoop Dom's ass.
Do you think that Scott Steiner's kid is going to come up and the two will form kind of a new Steiner brothers?
They could. I mean, the kid looks the part. Kid looks the part, let me tell you. I wouldn't mind it if they ended up being like arch rivals their whole lives.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool with me. Because if you look at it, Steiner's kid has kind of like a Ivan Drago look to him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he looks like a younger version of Steiner with like the bleach blonde hair that Scott had when he was kind of in his later years, but young. Like, that's what he looks like. They could be a good sibling. I know they're technically cousins, right, or whatever they are, but that could be a good family rivalry. Like, the typical wrestling thing where they're buddy, we're family, we love each other, and then one of them is going to turn on the other one, and then they'll hate each other. I feel like that could be something. But look at Braun. We have to see how that kid goes with the NIL deal and how he looks. But obviously, he has the pedigree as well. But I think Braun is ready to be a top guy right now. Like, if they gave him the ball and said, go be the main eventer and run Raw, he would crush it.
Yeah.
Right now.
There was a 6-month period in, I think, 2011 or 2012 where I really thought Ryback was going to be the guy. It was kind of right after he had re-debuted and was beating everybody and was feuding with CM Punk the first time. I really thought like, oh man, yeah, we've got our generation's Goldberg here. Didn't really pan out that way for a number of reasons, but I see like kind of that same. You said you didn't want to compare. I'll compare Braun Breaker to Goldberg like that. I feel like there's the potential for Braun Breaker to be. And the good news is like he's had to get boxed in with an undefeated streak or anything like that. He can be vulnerable because as soon as he runs around the ring and like shows off how athletic he is, we forget about last week's loss. 100%. So I'm with you, man. Braun Breaker's got all the upside in the world. I would love to see Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania if they do that. I think you said we'll probably see a multi-man.
Yeah, I'm thinking Braun, Finn, AJ, Penta. You could throw Kaiser. I mean, they could do like, you know, the ladder. You could do a 6-person ladder. There's a lot of things they can do, but I feel like that's where a lot of those dudes slot in. Braun, Penta, Kaiser, AJ, maybe AJ and Logan Paul become their own thing, and that's different. But I feel like Finn Balor, I feel like that's where these guys are all going to be. Somewhere
you could throw Sammy in there if he's not.
If you wanted to, he won the title there last year. You know, you could go for it again. Yeah.
What a great match that would be! Like with all those names, I would watch any combination of those names put together. So it was cool. I'm excited. Let's see. There's a couple things between Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers. Honestly, that's when I went to go heat up my coffee. So I missed that. Is there anything that stood out to you with the segment with Nile and
they're clearly heading still for the War Raiders and the Creeds. I do think the Creeds are going to get those tag titles the next time those two teams fight.
Sure.
And I do see I do see Ivy Nile taking the IC title from Lyra too. Like I think American Made are going to have all the belts for when Chad Gable does come back. Like that's what he told him when he left. He said, "I'm going to go deal with the dark arts of Lucha, and I want all of you to win titles." And I think there's a good story they could tell where Chad Gable comes back and he's pumped because his whole team has belts. But then the longer it goes, he starts to lose his mind because he's the only one in the group that doesn't have a belt.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's his whole thing is how many times could he win the IC title and he didn't and all this stuff. And then if he comes back and the people that are underneath him, he's the mentor. All his people are champions and he's the only one that isn't. Like he could start losing I feel like there's a good story they could tell of him like losing it.
There is. They could even, if they wanted to turn him babyface, they could have it be like a self-doubt thing. Like I don't know if I have it in me to be a champion and whatnot. And then there's a lot of ways they can go. I'm excited for this next year to see where a lot of these kind of mid-card upper guys go. I think Chad Gable again has all the upside. Speaking of upside, Cody Rhodes made his way to the ring, and I don't know if you saw this in his entrance, but when he was walking down the ramp, there was a girl that kind of had her back.
I did. She was a sweetheart. This was sweet.
And she turned around and Cody Rhodes was there, and things like that, like the smile on her face when he surprised her like that. That's why Cody Rhodes is the baby face, right?
For now.
So then let's kind of backtrack a little bit to SmackDown because a lot of people are saying, maybe Cody Rhodes is about to turn heel. The Rock came out on SmackDown and kind of it was a very awkward conversation with Cody Rhodes. And some people are blaming The Rock and saying that he didn't have the right cadence, didn't have the right vibes. I think it was intentionally kind of supposed to be awkward and just tense and whatnot. But it ended with The Rock saying, "Hey, you're my brother. I want a brother. We're friends. Like, look at our moms. I want you to be my champion. What are you gonna do?" And Cody Rhodes said, "So you want the title?" And The Rock was like, "No, I want your soul." Like a Disney villain. What did you think of this segment on SmackDown before we get back to Raw?
All right. So the segment itself, I wasn't the hugest fan of. I felt like a lot of it, I was just like, what are we like? It felt weird.
Yeah.
And I like you saying that you thought it was on purpose. Like, I agree with you. I do think it was supposed to feel awkward, but it just felt it felt like it went on for a little bit longer than it should have. And it felt like there was like The Rock was taking like very long breaks in between him talking sometimes. And like, I liked the other stuff of it. I liked when he like kind of patted him in the cheek and he was like kind of like caressed. Like it was creepy, but it was like, almost like The Godfather before he knows he's gonna make you, like kind of it felt that vibe-ish to me. I'm interested to see where it goes, because I feel like there's a couple scenarios that I could see happening. But I thought overall, that segment would be a little bit better than it was. It kind of, just felt weird. It just felt weird. And it was like, I don't know, like, yeah, you want his soul. Okay. But like, what is, like, I don't know. It just kind of felt a little off. It felt a little off for me. I thought that whole episode of SmackDown was kind of,
it was
not even kind of, it was bad. I think that was one of the worst episodes under Triple H of any TV show they've done. Like, it was bad. It was not a good episode.
You can blame Road Dogg for that, right?
Felt like it was, it just, I don't know. It just felt off. It just felt off. Not saying it was like a bad segment, but it felt different. It just felt off.
It did feel different. I think fans, and I'm not saying you, but just fans in general, people I've seen on Twitter, myself included, I think we get so accustomed to typical wrestling storytelling that a lot of people were like, I wanted like Rock to raise Cody's hand and then give him a rock bottom, and it wasn't that. It was much more subtle, much more cerebral, no pun intended. What I liked about it was that it made sense of Raw on Netflix, because the biggest criticism coming out of that was, why was Rock being so nice to Cody Rhodes all of a sudden? Like, why are they drinking tequila? If it's because The Rock is trying to manipulate Cody Rhodes and like bring him in so that he can kind of make him his own little sycophant. So it solved that, which I thought was really cool and smart. But it does kind of set up a world of opportunities for how this could go. Before I get into what I think, what do you think happens on Sunday or on Saturday at Elimination Chamber with The Rock and Cody Rhodes?
Oh, I think Cody says no. For now.
Okay.
I think Cody says no. All right. So, all right. Let's see. Now I'm going to get the fantasy booker hat on here. I think this goes one of two ways. I think we either get John Cena winning the chamber on Saturday, and it's John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and I think Cody Rhodes turns heel at WrestleMania and joins The Rock to beat John Cena. Or I think that can happen. Or I could see The Rock Cody saying no, and CM Punk is the guy that sells his soul to get the main event, to get what he wants, to get the world title. And CM Punk sells his soul to The Rock.
Those are both very, very good options. I would watch the shit out of either one of those two scenarios. Blackhawk in the comments agrees that originally Cody will say no, but then at WrestleMania, maybe kind of like a shades of WrestleMania 17, right? Some joint man. I could see that. Do you think that Cena could turn heel? And I say that because at the Royal Rumble press conference, John Cena said, I'm just going to be in the Elimination Chamber because it's best for business, right? That cliche term. The Rock repeated it. I could see Cena like finally embracing the heel turn and being the corporate champion that for decades people accused him of being. Like, if there has ever been a corporate champion in the real world of WWE, it was John Cena. So why not kind of play off of that and have him be the villain? And they could, like, wrestling fans are smart. I know a lot of people don't think so, but wrestling fans are smart. We know that this is the show, and we also know that it would take one night for everybody to just get back on the Cena train You know, like he could be a heel right up until his final match, and fans would still give him like the perfect exit cue, right? They'd still cheer him. So I could see Cena turning heel and being that corporate champion. I like the CM Punk idea because it just makes him such a hypocrite, which is interesting. But I think that CM Punk is still too valuable as a babyface.
That's fair.
To
I think that's fair.
You know, and I've been wrong before. They can prove me wrong. And CM Punk, like, he's one of the best heels in the world. So he would do a good job. I just think, like we said earlier, CM Punk has ready-made feuds with so many people. And I think it behooves him to stay a good guy for now. But to your point, like, this segment on SmackDown, even if it was awkward, it made Elimination Chamber and the rest of the road to WrestleMania infinitely more interesting than it was a week ago.
I agree. Yeah, because we were kind of all. I think we were at a point where we were all under the assumption that The Rock just wasn't going to be around this one. Like he wasn't going to be, he wasn't going to be involved in any stories or matches leading up to Mania. And now, obviously, like I don't think this ends on Saturday, whether Cody says yes or no. Like I think this leads to Mania. I don't think The Rock's going to wrestle at WrestleMania, but I think he's going to be there.
Yeah.
And he's going to have his eye on things of what's going on. And I think somebody, by the time WrestleMania weekends ends, is going to sell his soul to that man.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think Cena would be the logical third choice. I think it's either Cody, Punk, or Cena are probably the three that I would think. I wouldn't mind if they did something different, maybe like a Drew McIntyre.
Are we overlooking him? Because there is
like
a relationship between Drew and The
Rock.
Rock.
So maybe like if they buy into that, or maybe Seth turns heel again, because we've seen him do it with the Authority before. Cody mentioned that in his promo tonight with Seth. He mentioned you turned your back on the Shield and you went to the Authority and you did this. Like you're not a guy that anybody should really be trusting all the time either, So it could, like, if they wanted to go like not, you do something different, but I would think Cena, Punk, and Cody is kind of the guys that I would hover over it being, because I'm almost convinced the last two dudes in the chamber are going to be Cena and Punk, right? Those should be the last two.
Yeah.
And you have that, like, that rekindling, and it's like, oh, the crowd's we're all going to lose our minds. We're going to be like, holy shit, Cena and Punk. All right, here we go. Like, I feel like that. I wouldn't hate it if they started and finished, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I feel like those will be the last two. And like, if Cody says no earlier in the night, do one of those two even maybe do it at the chamber when The Rock is there to get to the match with Cody. And then The Rock is kind of in their corner as this kind of overlurking emperor over what's going on with Cody. You know what I mean? Sure. Like there's ways they can do it. So
I think, and I just thought of this, I'm still not psyched about the idea of a triple threat between Roman and Seth and CM Punk. I think a triple threat main event of John Cena, CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes would be the way to go. And the build up to the match and the match itself could be based on the question of who's going to turn.
Yeah.
Who's going to sell their soul.
Yeah, and you can have these promo segments with Cena and The Rock one-on-one in the ring again, Cena and Punk in the ring one-on-one again. You can continue like that. That would just create this. Obviously, they're all fighting to become champion in the main event. Cena wants to break the record. Punk wants the WrestleMania main event and to win the title at Mania. And then obviously Cody wants to keep his championship. But then you have this overriding factor of, are any of these three guys, who are three massive good guys, three massive baby faces, are any of them gonna do it?
Yeah.
Because like we've seen the dark side of Punk, not since he's come back, but we've seen a dark side of Cody before, and we've never seen a dark side of Cena. Never.
Man, now that we're talking about it, I would much rather see, and plus, I would rather see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins one-on-one.
I agree. I would. Don't get me wrong. If they add Punk to that match is going to be unbelievable, right? Sure. And the Star Power, it will be great. But I think I would rather see Roman and Seth one-on-one again. I think I would rather see that. And I think Punk, I want to see Punk in the world title picture.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where he should be.
Again, he's one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in the company right now.
Yeah, I agree.
we hope, but we don't know if he'll be around next year, right? So I think now is the perfect time for him to be in the main event in the world title match. I think a triple threat between Cena, Cody, and Punk is just that could be magic. I think we're brilliant. I think we just booked WrestleMania.
I think we did. Like if they're, I assume they listen to the show. Like I
Of
think
course
that's the way they have to go.
Yeah.
I do want to say in this promo segment, I thought Seth Rollins was great.
Yeah, so let's get into that. It was very good. So Cody Rhodes came out, said, "Hey, I know what you guys want to talk about. Obviously, it was what happened on SmackDown." And he kind of talked about his history and having to fight and scratch and claw his way to where he got, which is 100% true. And he said that I don't really want to have to do that again, which you have to assume that's what The Rock would make him do if he turns him down. So he had plausible deniability, like people, and this is what makes for the best heels. What he's saying kind of makes sense. You can kind of like agree and see where he's coming from. Yep. Right?
100%.
Then Seth Rollins comes out and once again is trying to be the voice of reason. And when you have Seth Rollins with his crazy outfits being the voice of reason, you know you're in trouble. But he did, and he challenged Cody and he said, "Hey man, this isn't what you want to do. Like we fought together against these guys. What are you going to do?" To your point, Cody said, "Well, who are you to judge me? You know, you're sounding pretty judgmental right now, but let's look at your track record." And Seth is somebody that maybe he is the one that turns heel because the precedent is there. But to your point, you said Seth did an outstanding job. I think they both did. But what was it about Seth that really kind of captured your imagination this time?
It was just like, the fact that I thought they both did great. I thought Seth made good points, and I thought Cody was perfect in the way he put Seth over.
Yeah.
Cody admitting that Seth was the MVP of Mania last year and the reason why he was able to win the title, which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true. The tag match and in the last, when he came out as the Shield Seth, and it's 100% true. And he did it and he put him over. He had one leg, a shredded back. Like I thought it was very well done. But the line that Rollins said where he was like, "Yeah, you're right. I have been filled with a lot of hate lately, but it's been meant for the right people." Roman, and he's Punk.
That's a good line.
He's talking about this. And then he goes, "You're going to do what you're going to do. You're your own man. I'm not going to tell you what to do." But he was like, "But don't make me hate you, Cody Rhodes. I don't want to hate you. I want to go to the Elimination Chamber. I want to win the chamber, and I want to go to WrestleMania, and I don't want to fight a guy that sold his soul to The Rock. I want to fight the guy that beat me with a torn pec inside Hell in a Cell. I want to fight the guy that came back at WrestleMania and beat me. Like, that's who I want to fight." He goes, and then he ended it with the line where he was like, "At WrestleMania, I'm not going to be coming for your soul, but I'm going to be coming for your title." And I was just like, and it was just like, and I just think the way it was very well done. And I thought both guys made great points. They both had really good one-liners in it. Like we talked about Cody really mentioning him joining the Authority and joining the Shield and the turning on the Shield and all that stuff. I just thought it was really well done. And even though I don't think it's even remotely close to a match we're going to get, it made me kind of want to see Seth versus Cody again.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt that way about Seth versus Cody because we saw it so much at the beginning. It made me want to see it again. So, yeah. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm going to rewatch it. I think it was the type of like fiery babyface promo from Seth Rollins that reminds everybody why he is where he's at.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he did a great job. I'm going to rewatch that segment now that we talked about it because it was very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
What I did not think was as good was the final backstage segment. It was Jey Uso checking on Tozawa.
Yep.
Which was fine. Jey Uso's biggest criticism has been, he's just a catchphrase machine. Like he just says yeet, which is cool and people love it and like crowds love it. It's great. But now they're building up to literally all Jay said was yeet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he nailed a super kick, which is like the biggest criticism. And so he just says yeet and he super kicks people. And that's literally all he did. I didn't like that little segment. What did you think of it?
I mean, I thought it was. I'm kind of indifferent. Like I thought it was fine. One thing I did like though is on one of Jey Uso's yeets, Austin Theory did it with him, and then Grayson Waller looked at him like, "What the hell, bro?" And Austin,
Right.
what? It's just a yeet. Like it was like Austin Theory is like that guy that he's like, "Yeah, that is cool. I mean, I'm gonna do that." I thought that was funny. I'm assuming this sets up a match for Jay next week on Raw, or just like kind of throwaway match, maybe against one-on-one against both of them over the next couple weeks, whatever. Because again,
Sure.
Jay doesn't have to do anything at Chamber. Like his match is set already.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to do anything either. So I feel like this is kind of, here's a couple matches they can get out of it over the span of 3 weeks or so to kind of get Jay out there, fight a little bit, and things like that. My thing is, I'm not anti-Jey Uso. I thought him winning the Rumble was actually a pleasant surprise, and I felt really happy for him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to feel happy for him, even though I'm a Gunther guy. I think Jay is going to probably win the title at Mania. I think he's kind of earned that right a little bit with how over he's gotten himself.
Sure.
And I'm sure I'll feel really happy for him when he wins that title too. Like I like Jey Uso. Not so much the yeeting, because that's over, dude. You're going to do that. The crowd loves it. You're going to do it. Right. I need a little bit more when it, like, I don't need you telling me that everybody's doubting you every week. Because I feel like that to me is becoming more, I'm not going to think of the right word, but that's becoming a little bit more tiresome of hearing that same, oh, everybody's doubting me. I was a tag team guy. It's like, okay, we've said that a handful of times now. So what's the next layer here? Are we just doing this? This is the story for 7 more weeks? Is that everybody's doubting you and nobody thinks? Because you've said that every week.
Yeah.
So like, what's the next? Are we going to make it more personal? Is Gunther going to take you out? Is he going to attack a family member? Like, what is the next level? Because I just don't want it to be everybody. Like, that is the story, is that everybody's always doubted Jay. Like, I don't want the story to change. I just don't need to hear you repeating the story for 8 weeks until we get to WrestleMania.
There is a promo in Jey Uso that I think could make grown men cry.
100%.
Years ago, when I don't even remember who it was, it might have been Roman or one of the Usos, where they were talking about how you went from this and that to like, which one are you, or whatever, where they were talking about like not even being able to tell them apart. There's a promo in Jey Uso where he can capture the last 4 years, 5 years of this rise of Jey Uso and like make us just grip our, to see him win. And not even as a wrestling character, but Jey Uso as a man, like finally getting what he's worked so hard for. There is a promo in there that I think he could wow all of us, and I hope he gets there. You were talking about you don't need him to change the story. He just there's a gear shift that he just needs to shift into. It doesn't like the last week or two before the show, I think would be good enough for me. But I hope he gets there, because you're right. Like, just hearing him talk about how he's never won the big one, he's never beat Gunther. Yeah, like, we know.
Yeah.
Show us why we should believe in you this time.
Yeah.
What makes this time different?
Yeah. And I think, again, we got plenty of time to get there. We got 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And I agree with you. We've seen Jay cut passionate promos that gets the crowd behind him. I thought the promo that he cut the night after the Royal Rumble was excellent. Yeah. And we saw how emotional he got, and the crowd loved, he has that in him. I just feel like for the last 2 to 3 weeks, it's been the same. I think Gunther has been carrying the story here.
You know what I want to see? Yeah. I just had this thought. I would like, you can either have it be one show or you can have it be weeks of build-up. I would like to see each of the Bloodline members tell Jey Uso that he can do it, finally ending with Roman Reigns saying, hey, I believe in you.
I think Roman Reigns should be like when they show Jey Uso making his way to the ring at WrestleMania for whatever ridiculous, over the top entrance they're going to do for him. Yeah. I think Roman should be kind of like there. Not walking down with him, but like, you remember how Sammy, when he was going down to fight Gunther last year, they showed him with his wife and his kid. And then the last person he saw was Kevin Owens. Yeah. And Kevin Owens gave him a hug and he was like, go do the damn thing.
Yeah.
And he kind of like, I want Roman to kind of not an exact replica, but I want Roman to be that guy with Jay. Where Jay's like, in the back getting ready and Roman with
you.
Yeah, or Roman just looks at him and goes, I acknowledge you, yeet, or whatever it's gonna be. I do like that. I do feel like, and I think Gunther should probably beat the shit out of Big Jim. At some point. Like I think he should really beat the crap out of Jimmy.
Yeah.
Just make it personal.
Yeah.
Just do something to make it personal. That's all.
We've got the time. We've still got like almost 2 months until WrestleMania. So they've got the time, they've got the talent, they've got the resources, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, that brings us to the main event of the show: Bianca Belair and Naomi versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Before we even got on air, you were talking about how great this match was.
Excellent.
I agree. What were your thoughts on the match?
I thought it was very good. It started, once I found out it was the main event, I was like, is Jade Cargill coming back tonight?
Sure.
And then even before this match, they did a vignette where they went back a few months and they showed Jade get injured. Like they showed her on the car and I was like, oh, she's 100% coming back tonight and she's going to cost Naomi and Bianca the titles.
Yeah.
And it didn't go that way. But I am not upset that it did not go this way because these 4 ladies kicked ass in this match. Started off a little slow as you would expect, but once it hit that home stretch, that last 8 to 10 minutes, the false finishes in this match, I thought we were getting new champs or they were retaining like 4 or 5 separate times.
Yeah.
And every time they didn't, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And they were hitting big move after big move after big move. And we ended up not seeing Jade at all. But at the end, Dom stuck his nose in there and it helped Liv hit the move that I'm drawing a blank of. It was kind of what's her move?
Her split-legged moonsault.
Yeah. And so she hits the rear view once. Right. And they hit the rear view that gets kicked out of. Liv hits. Oh my God, why can't I think of her name of the move that she does? But you know what I mean. The move in the ropes. She hits the kick out, which I thought that was it. And then she's going for the split-legged moonsault and Raquel. I thought it was a good way to end the match too, because you don't always see just somebody getting their head bopped off the post end a match like that. Yeah. Like usually they'll still kick out of that, but I thought it was kind of good the way they did it. And we got new champs. We got new tag champs. It was a good little moment. No Jade, though, so it makes me think, obviously, Naomi and Bianca are both in the women's chamber match on Saturday, and now they are no longer tag team champions. Do we see Jade at the chamber, or do we think they maybe... Is there a disagreement between the two of them in the chamber match, and then we see Jade after, like maybe on Raw next week or SmackDown, whatever it is? Like, I'm trying to think when we see Jade, because I feel like we're seeing her sooner than later. We're seeing her like imminently, I feel.
And I think the move is Bianca versus Jade at WrestleMania.
That's what I would want, but So I want it to be Bianca and Jade, but I feel like they're leaning towards Naomi was the one who did it.
Yeah.
Which, again, Naomi and Jade, that will slap. That will be great. Or they could do triple threat.
Yeah.
But then, if we're talking about that, who do we think's winning the women's chamber then? Because Bianca, to me, it's her or Bayley.
Yeah. You're right. And Bianca versus Rhea Ripley would be a hell of a WrestleMania.
It's the big, in my opinion, I don't even think it's an opinion. It's the biggest women's match they have in their chamber that they haven't done yet.
Yeah.
However, I do feel like a match like that needs to be built up longer than just like, I feel like that would be rushed to me.
Yeah.
The match would still kick all sorts of ass. It would be incredible. But I feel like that type of match like that, to me, that involves like one of them winning the Rumble. And we have this like long, like immediate, like I pick you.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, now we have a 2.5 month build of the two biggest women's stars of the last 5 to 10 years. Like that's the match, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I feel like this would feel a little rushed to me. Not saying that would lead to a bad match or anything, because it wouldn't. But I look at that chamber match, and with Io not being involved, which was like kind of my sure bet until it obviously wasn't, I'm kind of like, I don't really know what I think, because they've teased the Bailey thing with Rhea a little bit. But Bianca and Rhea is the marquee match of that. But I also think Bianca and Jade is a marquee match.
Yeah.
Well, do they do a triple threat with Bianca, Jade, and Naomi?
Right.
You know, like listen, I'm not gonna sit here and complain that we don't know what the hell's gonna happen at WrestleMania, because there have been years where we knew exactly what the hell was gonna happen at WrestleMania.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, all these little like storylines when we've been talking about multiple people, they're all the mid card of the show. And a mid card didn't even exist like 5 years ago.
It's very true.
So like we're talking about, whoa, what they could do. These are not even in the world. Like these are not even the world title, man. These are like, you know,
Yeah.
which we're in a good spot right now. We're in a good spot, but I really don't know. I really don't know where they go with this, because I feel like I agree with you. I want it to be, I kind of want a Bianca heel turn.
Yeah.
And I want it to be Bianca. But I feel like because Naomi was right there. Naomi's been the quickest one to point the finger at other people.
Naomi's the one that benefited the most.
Correct.
Yeah.
She's the one that stepped in, became a tag champ. She, you know, and Naomi has the easy story of like, hey, well, Jade kind of came in and took my spot. Like you and I were friends, and then she came in and took it, and I wanted it. So I did what I had to do to get it. And that's an easy story to tell. But I feel like I want it to be. It's not that I feel like I want it to be Bianca, but
yeah,
we'll see. I don't know.
Like you said, that's what a great place to be in. That we're going into a wrestling pay-per-view where we don't 100% know the outcomes to any of the matches.
Yeah,
right. Like we can assume maybe Kevin Owens will be Sami Zayn, but maybe not. Maybe Randy Orton comes back and costs him the match.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but with the Elimination Chamber especially, and that's what makes it so fun. The funnest part of pro wrestling is not knowing who's going to win, right? So I'm excited. This is the last time we're going to see each other before the show. I'm sure next week we will have a lot to talk about. Hopefully Cory will be back and he'll bring his scoops with him.
Yeah,
but I feel like we did a pretty good job, just the two.
Oh, I thought we crushed it tonight. I felt good about this. This was a good one.
Good.
Yeah, this was
you
fun.
Look good. You look good. I look good.
Yeah.
Black Hawk looks good.
There we go. I love it. I love it.
Well, since Cory is not here to go over any of the comments, we will skip that for tonight because we're already running a little bit late. But thank you guys so much for joining us on Raw Dogs, a bodyslam.net post show. It has been a blast talking about this. I'm excited to see Elimination Chamber. I'm excited to talk about Elimination Chamber next week with you guys. And I think that's it. Follow me on Twitter at Western Rebel. Follow JPJ at JPJ Loves Gaming. And we will see you next week.
Peace out.
Peace.